Hello and welcome back to another Cuppa with Kaci. I believe it has been at least a month, over a month. I don't even remember my last video, but hey, I'm back. It's been some rough times, as you all know, so I'm here to try and help you at least find something to do during that time. And without further ado, let's get to it. So, I got myself a little present and I've been waiting for it to arrive. We're going to be using some paints today and it's going to be these ones. I'm sure you have seen a million people on YouTube using these, as have I, and that is why I'm going to be using them, if I can open them. So, I'm not going to bother giving you the lowdown on these paints because, like I said, you've probably seen a million people using them. But basically gouache, and they're in little jelly cups and they're cute. And I'm not so much reviewing them as I am just playing with them because I know nothing about painting with gouache. I just wanted to try them because they're cute and I don't have any gouache and I want to use it. So that's pretty much it. I don't do reviews. I bought these myself for myself because I can, and we're just gonna be playing with them today. So bleh. Right away, making a mess. Okay, so voiceover Kaci here, and the first thing I'm gonna say is I didn't have a little trouble opening these. I don't know where I heard that they were hard to open, but I didn't find it too hard. I mean, some of them had sort of exploded a little bit, so as you can see I'm scraping the paint back into the pot off the lid just so I don't, lose that little bit of paint. I mean, I don't think it would really matter, but I spent money on these, so I'm trying to save as much of them as possible. I do have, there's one, I think it's the next one that I open. I had a lot of trouble opening this. My hands were so slippery from the paint and it just did not want to grip, so I end up using my teeth, and that still didn't work, so I had to clean off my hands a little bit and try again, and then eventually my teeth work. But yeah, we got there in the end, and we had that nice midnight blue colour to open. But I got so messy doing this. Had a lot of fun with them though, so that's always something, Okay, we'll go back to past Kaci now. So we got them all open. And yeah, they look pretty cool. We got black, brown, green, aquamarine, another green, dark blue, another dark blue, blue blue, white white. I believe that's probably titanium white, and that's whatever the other white's normally called, because that looks warmer than that one. That one looks cold. Don't know if you can tell on the camera, but that looks colder than that one. And we got yellow, poopy yellow, and egg yolk yellow, purple, chocolate, darker chocolate, raspberry, lipstick, and gorgeous red of gorgeousness. And now we shall swatch them onto paper. Okay, so I actually ended up leaving this for the night and coming back to it the next day because, I have a newborn baby and a 6-year-old stepson that needed some attention, and yeah, so I had to leave it and come back, but I eventually got there, and so we start the swatching process. I wanted to make them really neat and sort of uniform because my swatching is normally quite messy and that bugs me, so I used tape, washi tape, to set up a nice little grid pattern to make these all really neat because I wanted it to look nice in my art book, which my sketchbook was on the last two or so pages, so I wanted to make it look nice at the end there, just so that when I look through it, the end doesn't look like I just rushed it to try and finish the book, which I did because I really wanted to start my new sketchbook, but I didn't want it to look like I rushed it, so I took the effort to make sure that it looked nice. And as I said, I'm not used to using gouache. I'm more of a watercolor paint kind of person, so I was struggling a little bit in some places to not have too much water on my brush, so I actually got a nice even swatch happening. I think you saw with the purple one, I had to go over it a couple times because I initially put too much water on my brush, and gouache is meant to be, have the ability to use water with it. That's the point of gouache. It's like a little baby between watercolor and acrylic, but I wanted the swatches to be a nice, thick, solid color of whatever color was in the jelly cup at the time. So I had to keep that in mind when I was doing the swatches. And then I thought I'd try mixing a few of my own colours with the colours that I had, just to see what I could do. I'm again not too well versed in the way of gouache, and with watercolour you don't really use white that often to make things lighter. It's more a matter of adding just more water to it to make it lighter. So I was playing around with that a little bit and making some skin tones and a nice sort of baby pink there, just because I thought I might want to do something with pink later. Who knows? I don't actually end up using the pink at all, but I made it. So yeah, look at me. And my camera died halfway through again, so you missed a couple of little swatchy attempts at blending there. But I decided to use a random number generator on Google to pick 3 colours to use for an illustration, and I ended up with the nice, I think I called it lipstick red, dark chocolate, and just plain black for the 3 colours. So I swatched them out, see how they mix together, and then we get into some sketching of character, because I'm better at characters than pretty much anything else. So I thought I'd best take these colours and be inspired. And originally I was getting sort of a wood elf pixie kind of vibe with like autumn colours from this, because obviously it's the red, it's the brown, and then there's the black. I was thinking sort of, I don't know, fairy, autumn fairy kind of deal. So that's what I sketched out first, and I had sort of fun with that. I'm using a Prismacolor Color Erase pencil as well, as you can see, just in case you wanted to know what that was. I like sketching colour better than with graphite, because I don't know, I find it much more forgiving on a sketch to use colour rather than graphite, but that's just me. So I drew this pixie girl. I gave her some weird sort of toga dress outfit, I don't know. But then I thought, if I go flip side, complete opposite, and do this sort of punk skater sort of character instead, and that's the one I actually end up going with. I had recently watched Rin, Drawing with Waffles' video, where she drew her 3 skater character girls, Wheels, Scoot, and I can never remember the third one. Anyway, with the dog skid mark, I remember the dog's name, but yeah, she did a video of those 3, and I was inspired to draw sort of like a skater character as well from that. So that's kind of where I went with this. And yeah, I initially intended it to be a girl, but she ended up very sort of masculine, almost non-binary. So I'm guessing this is a they character. We use the they pronouns for this character who has no name. But I had fun, and I enjoyed the challenge of having to only use 3 colours. And the best thing about paint is you can mix them together as well, so I wasn't limited to just the red, the black, and the brown. I could mix them together and create different colours using that. So I took great advantage of that, that's for sure. And yeah, so I had trouble with that hand as well, I remember that. Hands are the devil sometimes, you know. Hands suck. But I went with my usual sort of style of a flannel shirt over jeans with Converse, because, you know, that's what I draw a lot of. I really need to branch out with my fashion on my characters, because I always seem to draw the same sort of clothes. I am trying to work on it. I've been trawling through Pinterest at different outfit choices just to try and expand my artistic horizons, but I always tend to gravitate back to just that red flannel over blue jeans kind of look. I mean, obviously there's no blue in this picture, but it was very much, I could have taken out that black that I used for the jeans and just made them blue, and it would have been every other picture I've ever done. So I tried to go a little bit different. I mean, I did like this weird sweatshirt over the top of the flanny combo thing, which I thought made the character look more sort of non-binary and younger, almost. Like they wanted to accentuate the flat-chestedness that the sweater sort of gave them, as opposed to how curvy they might look in just a button-up flanny shirt kind of thing. So I was going for some sort of character-related look there that had personality to it. I don't know if it came across that way or if it just came across as me being lazy because I didn't want to have to do the plaid pattern all over the shirt, but we'll let you come to your decision on that one yourself, because we're all grown-ups here. I mean, you might not be a grown-up, but shush. Anyway, so I did a quick little sketch on the side so I could test the colours where I wanted them to go. Like, I was pretty sure I wanted it to be a red flanny because, you know, that's me. I like red flannies, so I was pretty sure with that. So I was just testing the other colours around it to see how I was going to make them fit so that I didn't have too much of one colour in one spot, and there was contrast and it was well balanced, because I didn't want to just have a red shirt and then have a black hoodie and black pants and have it be all too dark. So I tried to make a mix with the brown and the black for the jumper sweatshirt thing, but you can't really tell, and it was really dark, so I just went over it with the plain brown because I wanted it to be a bit lighter, but I didn't want it to be a mix with the red in, because obviously I had the red sort of flannel shirt, so I couldn't have them both next to each other. And here I'm sort of experimenting with mixing the red and the brown together, and I thought that would be nice for the hair colour instead of having it all black, because you just then have black pants and black hair and that dark brown jumper, and it would all be so very dark, and I wasn't keen on that. So I lightened up the hair a little bit, and I even played around mixing the red with the black to see what sort of colours we could get, and it wasn't, I don't know if I wasn't doing it right or something, but I wasn't really getting like a dark red vibe. I was just getting another dark brown. So I used it to go over the plaid on the flanny, because it was a bit more unified with the red top than just the plain black, and I thought it looked a bit nicer. So that was something good that came out of that mixture, at least. And then obviously I just coloured the shoes and the hat, and yeah, I just wanted it to look nice. So that was my first test, and I thought, I can't just do this one, I have to try some other colours in different spots just to say that I branched out a little bit. Otherwise, you know, what was the point of doing the test? So I changed it up. I did the pants brown and the hat black, and I think I did the sweatshirt red, and you know, I wasn't too keen on it, but I had to try it just to make sure that, you know, I said that I tried all the different colour, I mean, I didn't try all the different colour options, but I tried a different colour option, so I didn't just go with the first one that I picked, you know? So I tried with the black button-up shirt with brown pants, black shoes, and this one looked a lot darker, but then as soon as you add that red sweatshirt, it just, boom, brightens it right up. And I was really tempted to go with that and add like a Spider-Man symbol on the sweatshirt, but then I was like, no, it's not really where I wanted to go with the character. I didn't want to add sort of any fandom in there by adding the Spider-Man symbol onto the sweatshirt, so I just stuck with my original idea. And yeah, I cheated a little bit and used the skin tone that I mixed up earlier for the skin, because I realised I hadn't factored the skin into my colour choices, and I didn't want to make them, I didn't want to use the brown for the skin because I had so much dark colours on there already. I thought it would just look like one big dark blob if I used that brown on its own, and I couldn't really make it any lighter because the only lighter colour we had was the red, and adding that was the colour I was using for the hair for one thing, and also it's not that much lighter if you look at it, and it didn't really work as a skin tone, so I was just, I'm gonna cheat a little and use the skin tone I've already made up, but the rest of it is only using the colours that I had randomly picked with that number generator. So I didn't entirely cheat, I guess you could say. And yeah, so now I'm colouring the red flanny. And I don't know why I gravitate even towards red flannies so much. I mean, I have like 15 billion of them, and I only ever wear the same 3, but I just love them so much. Anytime I see one in the shop, I'm like, oh, I have to buy it. And yeah, and then I wear it with my blue jeans, and that's pretty much my go-to outfit. Sometimes I'll have a white top underneath, sometimes I'll have a black top underneath, but that's pretty much my style, and it really is, yeah. Well, at the moment my style is trackies and a baggy top, because who needs to get out of their pajamas at the moment when we're not leaving the house? But if I was to leave the house, you could probably see me in a red flanny and blue jeans and the comfiest pair of shoes I own at the time, because my feet deserve to be comfy too. I don't just have to look nice. That's all I'm saying. And I don't actually have any bright red Converse. I have some like dark blood red Converse, and they're alright, but they hurt my toes after a while, so I only ever wear them if I know I'm only going out for a short time. Same with my Doc Martens. I love them to pieces, but I won't wear them because I don't want to ruin them. It's like, what's the point of spending over $100 on shoes if you're never going to wear them, right? But they sit there and I look at them and they're nice, but alas, they hardly ever get worn, because they are like not velvet, not suede, but kind of like a mix in between, and I don't want to ruin them. They're so pretty. That was a bit of a tangent, I'm sorry. So I'm using that mix of black and red for the plaid again, because like I said, it tied a bit nicer into the character, or it wasn't as dark, and I didn't want it to be so dark because I knew I was going to go over with black line art. I mean, I could have done brown line art, but I didn't actually think of that until like halfway through doing the line art, that I thought, oh, I should have done coloured lines. It would have looked much softer and nicer in my art book if I'd done coloured lines. But as I've said in a previous video, I always forget to do coloured lines, and it's a sad thing, because coloured lines look so lovely. I'm just habitually going towards black line art because that's all I've ever known. But I wish I had done coloured lines on this, because it would look so nice, even if I just a bit of it in coloured lines, I suppose. But I used one of my favourite digital art techniques for this with the black pants instead of... I did no shading on this piece, by the way. There's no shading. I don't know gouache well enough to do shading, so it's all very flat colours and stuff. But the thing that I did with the pants is something I do often with digital art, is I will just do solid black, and then I'll come back through with white and do white lines to differentiate the different blocks and different shapes. So it kind of has a negative space effect almost, with white lines over black instead of black lines over white or any other colour. And that's something I actually picked up from DeviantArt years and years and years and years ago. Like, oh gosh, I would have had to have been, 15 or over 10 years ago. And I used to follow this artist on DeviantArt. Her name was Aisha Neko or something like that. And that was something she did a lot in her art, was just the solid black with white lines. And I fell in love with it because, 1, I hated shading, and 2, I hated shading black, because you can't get any darker than black. So there's only you have to use a lighter colour that gives the impression of black once it's been shaded and once it's next to other lighter colours. And it used to frustrate me when I didn't have the skill set to do it yet. So aside from practicing it on pieces that I wanted to look good instead of looking half messy because I'd used them to practice, I just used the Aisha Neko technique, which is what I used to call it, and I just made everything solid black and used white lines. And it's something I still do sometimes if I'm feeling particularly lazy and don't want to shade. But yeah, back to the artwork. I was letting the paint dry before I went in with the lines, so I just decided to take the tape off the swatches, and didn't realise at the time that half my book was off the camera, so you didn't actually see all of it, and that makes me so sad, because I love watching when people take the tape off of paintings when it's done, and you can see just how crisp and clean it looks on those edges, and I wish I'd gotten the whole lot. but I didn't. I only got some of it, but oh well. I apologise. And here comes the line art. Now, I'm using my cheaper brushes. I think I mentioned earlier that they're synthetic, and I think they're just multimedia brushes. They're not specifically watercolour or gouache or acrylic or anything. They're just sort of, use me for anything. And this particular brush, when I got it, had a stray hair that was sticking out a little bit further than all the others, and it used to bug me so much that I trimmed it, but I trimmed a little too close and ended up trimming the tip off the brush as well. So it's not a flat brush, but it's not a round brush anymore, and so I can't really get super fine lines with it. So all the lines are very uniform, which isn't a bad thing if that's what you're going for. But I forgot that until I started painting with it, and I didn't want to have to go and dig out my more expensive paintbrushes to do this, just the line art with, because I was nearly done, and it had already taken me most of the day to get this footage because I had to, feed the baby and do the housework and all this, that and the other. I was like, no, I'm just going to power through with this paintbrush that doesn't really give me any line width variation. And I mean, it didn't go badly, but I kept having, anytime I dip back into the colour, it would leave a big thick line for the first couple strokes. I mean, it does that with most brushes, but I could not for the life of me get the paintbrush to not do that, no matter how many times I twisted it, twirled it, or anything. I mean, in hindsight, I could have painted a few strokes off the actual artwork onto the opposite page before I went in to do the lines, but I ended up just being really careful with which bits I was painting first and deciding to do the lines on a bit of it that I didn't mind. I picked the knee because I knew I didn't mind the line there being thick before I went back onto the face, so I wanted it to be thinner. So I mean, I worked around it, but I could have made it a lot easier on myself if I just used a different paintbrush. But will I make things easier on myself? Will I? Heck, I mean, I'm just gonna keep doing the lazy thing because I am one of the most lazy people I know, and that's not something I should be proud of, but hell, I get by. And so I just went around the whole thing. I did line art around the whole thing. It wasn't something I was originally going to do. I did want to keep a sort of lineless look, but once I got started, I couldn't stop. I find that is something of an issue with me. I get so in-depth with line art, and I love making everything look so crisp that I forget if I wanted to do it lineless or not, and I find that I'm not neat enough with my initial shapes to keep it lineless in places, if you know what I mean. Like, if I was a neater painter, I could have left the shoes lineless and just done the white bits with lines or something, and it would have looked okay, but I'm not, and you wouldn't have been able to get the right impression from the shapes that I left there for it to actually go, oh yeah, those are shoes. You would have just been like, oh, she can't draw shoes, so she just left some red splodges on the end of the feet that's sort of shaped like shoes. So I had to go in with the black there and just do lines. And that's what I ended up doing with the whole thing. And this is me practicing with the white. I wasn't sure, like, I know everyone says gouache is opaque and it's meant to be layerable and that you can go over, but I was like, oh, I don't trust that this white paint is going to be opaque over the black. And since that was the main thing I was using it for, I had to use it on the side there just to test it. So I ended up using that purple swatch that I'd made because it was dry, and I was checking to see how opaque the white was or whether or not it was going to be any transparent, but it wasn't, so yay! And that's the finished piece. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm sorry it took me so long to get my videos back up, and I will see you next time for another exciting painting video. Have a great day and take care of yourselves. Bye!